From Compton, I could have easily came out and said, I did this, I did that. I done killed a whole bunch of niggas out in front, just giving off fact where I'm from. But that ain't me. I'd rather talk about my reality. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather talk about something a little bit more deeper than that. The reasons and the problem and the solutions behind it. So when you hear these stories in Good Kid, Mad City, when you hear these stories in To Pimp a Butterfly, it's a little bit deeper than just the music. It's cats out here really trying to do something and really trying to spark the idea of positivity in the community. Let me tell my story. Let me tell other stories that's out here that want to do something different, but can't, because you're in an environment where you just got to adapt. And what happens is it invites people in to get another perspective. It brings a whole another side of the world to Compton, to this backyard right here, and say, okay, these are actually people. Before music, it's a lot of territories, just being a part of the gang culture and knowing how it reacts and being in the center of the heart of it. There's a lot of territories that, you know, I couldn't go to just off the simple fact it was bad blood between my neighborhood and the neighborhood around the corner. And those neighborhoods was off limits, way off limits. Just recently, I just found out that the same cats that I enemied or that enemied me somewhat has given me a higher respect further than gangbanging, just off the simple fact I'm doing something that not only inspires them, but inspires their kids, which privileged me to go where I want to go in Compton. A lot of people think I put down what others do. Nah, I don't put down what people talk about and what that's their choice. I talk about it too. I talk about murder, I talk about violence, I talk about all of that. But the backstory behind it is the consequences for it. Who gives the consequences for it? Who's going to pay for these things? Not to glorify it, to educate you on it, to know that it's real. You know, these words are powerful. You know, I got homeboys that's dead, that's in prison, and sometimes you get a lot of artists that just glorify that. So these kids look at it, you know, they think it's nothing but cool until they put in a real situation where they back against the wall and it's all over. For me, that's what separates me as an artist. I'm gonna give you the gift and I'm gonna give you the curse. Yeah, for me, I'm responsible for myself to know what I'm talking about. That's where my responsibility comes, to know 100% what I'm talking about, because I'm a witness. It's your choice to listen to it, but it's my responsibility to know exactly what I'm talking about, you know, and to always give you both sides of the fence. I can't just write. I can't come up with an album if it's not from self-experience.
I was surprised to hear some of the things that you were saying right here when you talk about depression and reveal suicidal thoughts. And I'm like, is this real? Is there poetic license? Like, where did that come from? What prompted that?
I think I've pulled that song not only from previous experiences, but I think my whole life. I think everything is drawn out of that, even situations from Good Kid, Mad City. Nothing was as vulnerable as that record. So it's even pulling from those experiences of coming up in Compton. It's pulling with the experience of going through change and accepting change. That's the hardest thing for man, accepting change. And when I was on that tour bus and things is happening back home in my city or in my family that I can't do nothing about, it's out of my control, I can put it in God's hands, I couldn't understand that. And that can draw a thin line, you know, between you having your sanity and you losing it. And this is how artists deteriorate if you don't catch yourself. So when these things happen, my release therapy is writing the music. We're so confined with hatred and want to point out people's flaws, and we don't see the big picture and what they're doing. And it's been done with leaders way before my time. Right. The more and more I got to travel, when I went to Africa and I got to see other people's problems, you know, they struggle 10 times harder, you know, and was raised, you know, crazier than what I was. Going out there really inspired. I wrote a lot of records off the album just by visiting South Africa and being able to move around like I did. And that was the moment I knew, okay, I can either pimp this situation or I can fall victim to it. You know what I mean? And that was a turning point. I remember taking my music up to a record label I was probably like 19. I thought it was like the dopest stuff out. I'm like ready, like, yeah, I got me a big label meeting. I get there, press play, and the A&R was like, nah, that's not it. Listen to this artist. And this was the artist that was hot at the time, you know? And I was like, okay. He's like, go back, make one of these songs right here. And I was like, all right. Boom, went back, made another one of them songs. Press play, he's like, well, this song is out now, so you probably gotta make it one of these records now, you know, because this is number one. What it made me feel like I wasn't good enough, you know, because every time I come back, you know, I'm a kid, I don't know. You know, you think of record labels as you made it, you know, so every time I come back, I feel like I'm not worthy. And it was devastating because it put me back in the threshold, like, am I built for this? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I good enough? You know, so it was devastating at the time, but I'm glad it happened because it gave me my own avenue of doing what I feel is right, rather than being compromised to what other people's standards are. And it gave me my separation. It made me unique. It made me Kendrick Lamar, and it made me have a debut album, Good Kid, Mad City, that people can, you know, respect and know who I am rather than a hit song. My first album, my inspiration came from me growing up in Compton, just my neighborhood alone. My album represents one day of me living in the city. You know, so so many different stories that I wanted to tell on that album. And it trips me out that inspiration comes from right there and the whole world can actually feel and express their feelings from it. So nowadays, I wouldn't say it comes from Compton or me being on the corner of my homeboy. On a more broader, you know, avenue, it'd just be life in general. Now it's just not me being in the streets. It's about me having that balance with my music career and my family. It's about me staying true to myself and not getting caught up in the lights. It's about me still being close to my spirituality and not being so tainted with the negatives of being an artist. Because everything's at our disposal times 10. When you're in this life, whatever you want, whatever your vice is, try not to go toward them temptations. This is everything that makes up life, you know, and I could sit and talk to a 5-year-old little boy and draw from a song, from talking to him and seeing the innocence in his eyes that I haven't seen in myself in a long time. That's inspiration. It's just life. Keep the most genuine people around you. Only a few. Don't let too many in the circle that wasn't there since day one, that understands who you truly are and don't see you as a celebrity or a figure or a dollar figure or putting a price on you. Keep those around you. And the toughest thing to do as an artist is have that balance. But you have to try and navigate that, your personal life and your music career, you know, so it's something that I'm going through right now, trying to figure out, so I can't give you a straight up answer like I know it all. You know, I'm still growing and learning as I go. We so focused on what the outside is doing to us and stumbling upon us. We forget that if we're stronger on the inner core, ain't nothing nobody else can do. You can't break down something that's so solid if the core is solid, the foundation is there. It's just something that gotta be reversed. Definitely a curse that has to be reversed. That reverse may come tomorrow. Fortunately, when you talk about change, you talk about time. And time can be forever. When you're dealing with something such as murder, violence, and most importantly, hate. The reason why we on earth today, you, me, him, her, all these different walks of life, it's all a test. It's almost like an experiment, God's experiment. When are we gonna understand that we are put on earth to love? That's all it's about. Everybody wanna figure out how complicated life is and break it down. This is what I truly think. I really think that it's gonna keep going on. War gonna keep going on, frustration gonna keep going on, anger gonna keep going on, till we finally go back down to the simplest word, love. And when God sees that, then we have the answer. But until then, it's gonna be warfare.